Hi there, this is Janet Gershon-Siegel, and I'm the Lonely Writer. This is serious social media help for the independent author. The independent author is defined as being a writer who does not yet have an agent. Now, all this month I'm doing daily prompts for NaNoWriMo. The prompts are in kind of an interesting order, so please feel free to mix them up, double back, do more than one, skip a few, look at them after the month is over, whatever you want to do. But if you tried to just write a story with everything in the current order, I think you might find a little problems with that. Anyway, today's prompt is just one word. It's the word salty. Now, the first question is kind of, what does it mean? What is it all about? Now, I mean, it's pretty obvious. We all know that salt, it's related to, of course, NaCl. You know, it's a mineral, actually. And in fact, it's the only rock, it's the only mineral that we eat. You know, everything else we eat is either animal or plant-based. So it's kind of a unique thing, and it's a unique flavor. You really can't duplicate salt flavor without those components. You can kind of get close, or maybe you add a little bit of salt to something and then you add a lot of other stuff that maybe enhances it, but for the most part you really can't duplicate salt. But let's not just talk about flavor. There's also the connotation of quote-unquote salty talk, and by that I mean when you swear a lot, basically. I mean, assault is another term for a sailor, or at least it used to be, and of course we've all heard the expression to swear like a sailor, so the two things sort of go together pretty neatly. There's, of course, the table salt that we have on our table, and it's, you know, and you go to pretty much anywhere, particularly in America, and you'll see salt and pepper on the table, and that's pretty damn ubiquitous when you get right down to it. We can also be thinking of salt water, the salt water of the ocean, but also the a saline solution in a hospital, or even the saline solution that's in the uterus. We might also be thinking of just how you know, like when we salt language with something, it means that we're kind of adding to it. We might be putting little nuggets in, like maybe adjectives or even adverbs that we may or may not want, but it enhances our speech. Let's look at it a little bit differently. You know, like, what is when a person is salty? Maybe they're a little rough around the edges. Like I said, maybe they swear a lot. They might be people who aren't 100% polite. It's kind of these days called the people who aren't politically correct. But it also has the connotations of being down to earth, kind of the quote-unquote salt of the earth that we might see. And these aren't necessarily farmers or farming stock, although I think when we think of the salt of the earth, we are often looking at something like that. But it can also mean, of course, if somebody swears a lot, it may mean that they have no filters, and that's a bit of a problem too, because after all, we all, as we get older, I think we have a tendency to filter our speech a lot more. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. In fact, that's one of the ways that we sort of have social lubricant, where we are a lot more careful about what we say so that we don't offend people. And again, I don't mean that people are easy to offend, although maybe a lot of people are these days, but when we're a little more careful and we have more filters to our speech, then it makes life easier. You know, when you're nicer to people, you know, it's the old, you know, do you attract flies with honey, or do you attract them with vinegar? Well, of course you're going to attract a lot more with honey. So is saltiness ever a positive thing? And I would say that in some cases it is, because when you're a bit freer with your speech, I think you can kind of say the things that other people don't want to say. Other people, you know, you sort of get away with things. But at the same time, I think you might be sowing some resentment when you do that. And finally, once again, this is Janet Gershon-Siegel, the Lonely Writer, because an independent writer never has to be alone. Thank you so much for listening, and good luck with NaNoWriMo.